Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yes, it is February 15th. And of course, today is so important because it's on the fives. I'm beyond excited because tonight I am joined by some wonderful book club members, and we're going to be going over a book review for Dark Horse Rising. And I am so excited because our group has been reading very diligently the Heir to the Empire, and it's just been a great time to get to know my fellow book club members. Also in quizzes as well, which we might or may not bring up. For those who already know. But I cannot wait. But before we go ahead and get started, I just want to remind you that, again, my name is Nicole. This is On the Fives, and we are part of the Red 5 Network. We are Red 5 in conjunction with the Red 5 Reading Book Club. This show got started because I love books, and I love my Red Fivers, and I love our friends, and I wanted to get to know them. And I came with this idea. Let's do this, on the fives, and get to ask these questions and have a lot of fun. And then I decided, you know what? We're going to expand and we're going to add in our book club reviews, which I'm so excited because tonight I will continue to get to know my fellow Red 5 Reading Book Club members. And then you guys get to know us as well. So thank you real quick for everybody who is joining us in the chat. Please hit the like and subscribe button because this way you always know when we are going live. I mean, it's easy. 5, 15, 25. But, just in case. Let's do a quick couple of shout outs. I see Miss Danny from Comics and Cosmetics. I want to do a quick shout out for Miss Danny, okay? She has a show that just dropped today about Wonder Woman. Y'all, you don't even understand. Danny has a beautiful heart and she knows her comics. She knows her Wonder Woman. She is Wonder Woman. You need to check it out. Go to Comics and Cosmetics and check her out, as well as Science Fictionary. Andrew is in the house. I'm so excited he is in our chat. Thank you again. And thank you. I see Ro, the Red 5 creator. Scarif is here as well. I'm so excited for everybody that is here. And everybody that is lurking in the chat, I thank you as well. Again, please hit that like button and hit subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Let me start introducing our guest. All right. Bringing up first, Andrew. Hello there, sir. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Excited to discuss Dark Horse Rising.
I know. It's been awesome. All right. Adding to our guest list, we have Spencer's other
Hello.
We do. We've got a really good group, and we're missing a few, but they'll be here. I'm sure of it. And then we've got you, Bogo. Oh my gosh.
Hello.
Hello. I know we're all
we've all got the same copy. Oh, that's funny.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Quick, got some homework to do.
We've got Isaac. Welcome, Isaac.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Isaac.
I know. No, thank you all for coming here tonight. I know we might have a few still on their way. I'm so excited because once they get here, they'll be great. But until then, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Because I know how we are, and I know we can be a little, talkative. All right. Without further ado, let's go and get started. We're officially finished with volume 2 of Heir to the Empire, Dark Horse Rising by Timothy Zahn. So I want to kind of go around and I want to know each of your guys' overall thoughts of Dark Horse Rising. And don't everybody start at once. And then if you're in the chat, if you've already read this, feel free to say, I liked it, I didn't like it. Feel free to drop that in the chat too.
Usually in our chat, it's Ian that always starts.
I was gonna say, if he was here,
I know.
Yeah.
We miss you. Oh, he says he's in the back chat. Let me see.
we got so used to him starting all the time. So
I was gonna say, yeah.
I think I do see him. Hold up.
Okay.
I've got some people
Let me in.
Oh, let me add on 2 more. Oh my gosh. Ian, we missed you. We were just like
I was here the whole time.
started.
He's like, let me in. Let me in.
But you guys, the party's not ending yet. We're actually adding in today. Finally joining us is going to be Nicholas of Backyard TARDIS, and then we'll get started with the overall questions. So let's go ahead and enter in our friend. Hello, Nicholas. Hello, BYT.
Hey, Nicholas.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah! Woohoo! Well, again, I am so excited. Everybody's here, and we are going to just start diving straight in. See? You, Baldo and Nicholas know where it's at. Y'all know where it's at.
I don't have the merch.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Taken care of then, sir.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
a quick thanks to Ro for this one.
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Overall thoughts of Volume 2, Dark Force Rising.
Ian,
Did you
always
want me
first.
to go first? Because you
Yeah.
all you were saying.
I think
Hey, let's-
so. I think
Yeah,
that
let's
was correct.
true. Let's keep it traditional. When we have our book club, you always start. So you got first.
Well, overall thoughts without going into details. When we started the book, we were wondering whether it was going to be what kind of mid-parter it was going to be, because we were wondering, is this going to be the kind of mid-parter that's just stalling and even more setup, or is it going to be the type of mid-parter that really deep dives into the characters, and is basically the heart of the trilogy? And I think it's kind of in between. I think I had a lot more problems with this book. I think it didn't go deep enough in quite a few areas. I think it, introduced some kind of interesting ideas and then backed away from those and went with something that was fine but less interesting. Overall, I'm kind of in the middle on this one.
All right.
I kind of agree with Ian. Being that I've read this when it originally came out, I put this book like about the bottom of the trilogy. Some people felt like it's the slower of all three books. It carried on a little bit too much on some stories because we got about 4 or 5 plots going on with this book. So everybody's like separate until, of course, we'll talk about it later, of course, towards the end when everybody just comes together.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have similar sentiments as far as it goes. Don't get me wrong. I definitely enjoyed this, but I definitely don't think it was as good as Heir to the Empire. But it was still a solid read, though.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Definitely not as good as Air, but I thought it had some good parts to it. Some pacing issues, but I thought it was pretty good still.
Nicholas?
So, when I first got this trilogy, I got it as one bound book when I was a kid.
Ew.
So, this definitely of the trilogy is the weakest part. I mean, it is written as one book that was then published as 3. And so this is the middle slump of a movie. This is, all the exposition is happening. At first it's like, oh, there's mystery, there's bad things. Then this is kind of like the slow middle. And then the last book is like the exciting conclusion. And I have to say, I always have trouble stopping at the end of this book because this book is designed in a way of like everything. And then and I've been listening to it on Audible. It says, this book was brought to you by Audible. And I'm like, what? It's like in the middle of something happening. Like it just ends. But I do enjoy the book. And some of it, which is kind of why I've had a hard time joining you guys, is just because I know where it goes. I know where a lot of these characters go in the EU. And it is hard to say, well, let's just talk about this spot right here, because I've been loving hearing you guys, you writing down your theories or your notes and stuff, and you're talking, well, maybe it'll go here, maybe it'll go there, and knowing exactly where it goes. I listened to this twice last year, this trilogy. So, and then,
Nick, you just hit it. That's how my book club is going for me. I'm sometimes like, I can't say much.
yeah.
No comment.
Yeah,
You
it's
do a
one of
good
those-
job, though, Ubaldo.
Yeah, I'm always saying I cannot confirm or deny anything.
We're gonna get that like on a shirt for you. Cannot confirm nor deny.
But you do a really good job about engaging in the conversation without giving anything away. So it's really appreciated.
No, you guys are welcome. The way we divided these chapters have been fantastic. Every time it's almost like Nicole put it to end it in a cliffhanger every time we cut this book into sections, and it's like and of course I know, and everybody wants to move on forward and read, because these cliffhangers sometimes it's like, oh no, and I'm over here like, yeah, I'm not gonna say anything.
Well, and that's one of the things, though, I love about this book club. We have a lot of us that are newbies to legends. I was about to say legacy, legends. And then we have, some that have read this or haven't read this in a long time and, rereading it. And so it works out. It all comes together, which I really like.
True.
Oh, sorry. This is the used and abused unofficial mascot. So I guess she'll have to say hello at least for a second. Okay, so moving on.
Isaac didn't get to say anything yet.
Oh, Isaac, I am
did not.
so sorry. Isaac,
No worries.
feel free, throw in, man.
For sure.
I get
I
excited.
agree with everyone else. Air was definitely a stronger book. This one did feel a little bit like a filler in between 1 and 3. I've read the whole trilogy, so I know where this goes, where it's going. But again, it was fun rereading it. But definitely the weaker out of the 3. So,
I think I'm pretty sure out of this group who's talking on this panel today, there is 4 of us that are reading for the first time, and 3 that have read it before or are going back and haven't read it in a long time. Which is, again, a really nice mashup. It kind of works. I like how it works.
Almost 50-50. So
it is.
Nice.
I know. I'm excited because next month now next month will be a real treat to see how this goes. Okay, so let's get into our favorite characters for this book. What were your favorite characters for Dark Horse Rising?
I'll throw it out like I just said it before. One of my favorites, it's always been Han. He has changed so much from the original movies. If you follow the timeline from the movies to the books, he has changed so much. He has become from a smuggler to almost part of the council, if you want to see it that way, or because he has other to think for himself. He has Leia now, and of course we all know that Leia's pregnant in here, so he has a lot to put on the line now. And I still love him, because the decisions that he makes throughout these books, it's also looking over to see how Leia will be affected.
It's even though they're not born yet, it's Han the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first book, when Leia wasn't on the first book, when Leia didn't, like, none of her thoughts were about her children in the first book. It was always on Han's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always interesting. That's what I thought about in this book, was that I'm like, well, at least this time we know she's pregnant. Last book, it was like, do you remember that you're pregnant? Why is she not thinking about her children? And Leia this and Leia that.
Well, when she had to hide it, she was very aware that she was pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say my standout characters are going to be still Thrawn, but my biggest one is Talon Card. I really love the Talon Card character, and you know, I've read these books many times, but for this go round, I'm listening to it while I'm driving because I'm currently working through a different book that I'm reading. So in the audiobook, the voice that he does for Talon Card is very similar to the early Clone Wars Honda Tanaka.
Oh,
And
okay.
when you look at when you look at the audiobook and like how some of the characters are characterized and stuff, you can tell like there's certain Filoni characters that are like, wow, that's a nod to this character. That's like, and it's very, very similar in mannerisms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Isaac.
All right. Mine was also Talon Card, so piggyback off Nicholas there. Probably not the same level of intellect as Thrawn, but he's almost a counter to Thrawn in the way he was able to kind of foresee things and plan things out. So it's kind of nice that the good guys also had a smarty on their side as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least a semi-good guy.
Yes, semi-good guy.
Yes.
I think a good example of that is when Thrawn comes to Merker to get Card, and Card is behind the and they're playing 4D chess. They're all, well, no, he would think of this, but he wouldn't think of that, and then Thrawn is still one step above. And if it wasn't for Mara Jade's abilities, Thrawn would have won out there. So, and that's kind of a reoccurring, like, Thrawn can think everything out, but he constantly has trouble, and we saw this in Rebels, he has trouble with the variable of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, throughout the first book and this book too, I definitely said that Talon is basically a mirror to Thrawn. But I like Thrawn. I like Talon a lot better. I'm not going to say he's my favorite. See, it's difficult to say with this book. With the first book, it was easier for me to say who my favorite character was. This book was kind of like the first book was really balanced in all the character stories. So everyone was kind of on equal footing. And so it was really easy for me to pick out which of those were my favorite. But in this one, we didn't spend as much time with everyone. And that really disappointed me. So I don't really have a favorite. I have moments with people that I have favorites. I really loved every single chapter with Mara Jade. I love Talon Card. I really loved what we got with Leia. Unfortunately, Luke didn't get, in my opinion, he didn't get as much to do in this book. It felt like he wasn't there for a lot of it. So that was meh. But yeah, I was thinking that Mara was going to be like a main character in this book, like someone we followed throughout the entire book, and it was kind of like we got focused with her at the beginning and we got focused with her at the end. And so I don't know, I might be leaning towards Mara as my favorite, because even though we didn't get a lot of her throughout the main section of the book, the stuff that we got was fantastic. And I really felt for her too. So
yeah,
piggybacking off of Ian there, I definitely Mara, I think, was probably my biggest highlight character from this. You're right. While she could have been in it, I guess, a little more. I definitely think that like when you get to know her more, knowing her character, learning more about her character, it's just so interesting to where like when I'm starting to think back on the book, when I was reflecting on her earlier today, sure, that character, her character was the one that just started standing out the most to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mara Jade as well. Also, just because this is the first like time I've ever like learned stuff about her character with reading these books. Everyone else I know through other forms of media, and so it was nice to get just a little bit more of her in this book. And the parts we got had some interesting moments and stuff. The character decisions she had to make and stuff. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree. I'm enjoying getting to know Mara more than the little things I kind of already knew about her beforehand. So I'm enjoying to get to see her more, but I want, like Ian, more. I want more. I want to know why everyone loves her. Like, I'm like, I know why already. I can see the love. I can see the passion. I can see the sass. You know, I am the emperor's hand. And it's like, oh, here we go. All right, and that's exciting. But I'm definitely on Team Mara, but wanting more time with her. But that being said, I'm interested in seeing if your guys' for character development did somebody stick out that you're like, oh, I really enjoyed seeing this character development, or is it could be different than the one you were picked, could be the same.
I like I said earlier, since we have several plots going on here, I think I do agree, and with Luke and Mara together, it makes this book stronger for when they're working together. Then you got Han and Lando working together, so it's like I think Mara stands out a lot in this one because she, like Nick was saying, is like he's a step of Thrawn. And with Luke, when they're working just to get out of the Chimera, it's like wow, they teamed up very well. It felt like they've been working together for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in this book, she's one of the strongest and has developed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about Mara is that I think that we can all see her development. I think we can see her loyalty, her empathy coming through, but she doesn't see that development. She doesn't see that in herself. At the end of the book, when she's floating in space alone, she thinks that no one has any reason to come and find her.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And yet she's wrong. So yeah, that I think that's really fascinating to have a character that they can't. Well, I mean, it's true to real life. Frequently all we see is our faults, our failures, and the trappings of our own past, and we don't see the development that we've made. And I think that's true to her.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Why you gotta touch my heart, Ian? I'm like all the fuzzy.
That's what I'm here for.
I know.
Ian sees what we don't. That's why we have him here.
Oh.
So, yeah.
All the feels.
Yeah.
And yes, this is what it's like at book club. If you want to join us, feel free to join us. All right. Anybody else want to step in on some of their favorite character development?
For me, it's Mara Jade as well. That's kind of why she was my favorite characters, because we did get more of her, and she had to make some decisions she didn't maybe want to do, but for the sake of the situation, she has to. And so she kind of has to overlook some of past stuff and go, okay, I got to do this. And so, yeah, I would have to go with Mara Jade.
Sorry about that. My switch devices, my tablet froze. But
It's interesting hearing you guys, speak so positively because I think the reaction at the time in the fandom was they didn't like her. She became a beloved character, but at this point, she was not liked, and it wasn't until later in different books that she really, I think, endeared herself to the fandom. But that was something that was like an early Star Wars. Even before the prequels, fans argued about stuff in the EU. Which was better? Was it this or was it can't remember the comic line that had Palpatine returning instead of Thrawn, set in the same time period. Like there was debates about that. Was Mara Jade a cool character? Was she not a cool character? But as time went on, she became widely accepted.
Yep.
Nicholas, it's interesting to hear you say that because and you posted that video back during the first book about some of your thoughts, and you were saying how Mara wasn't really likable in the first book or the second book, but we were all like, we all like her. We all liked her right away. And I don't know, Nicholas, let me ask you, did you like her when you first read the book?
I did, although, I had the advantage of I read the whole trilogy from cover to cover.
That's true.
All in one go. And I can't give away what happens in the next book,
No.
but
I don't know what happens.
yeah. But like I see her filling. When they talk about the Emperor's Hand and stuff, like the Inquisitors kind of fill a similar role. She's not a Sith, but she's somebody with Force abilities that worked for Palpatine. But he didn't fully train her. She's not unlocked her potential because he specifically kept her limited, so that she had enough Force abilities to be like a super useful agent, but not enough to be a rival to him or Vader. And her characterization, but I think a lot of people not liking her initially was just the fact of how beloved Luke Skywalker was.
Yep.
And just how much he was like downright nasty to Luke in any conversation they have. And I think that was what a lot of fans were like, who is this character that she thinks she's just talking like, oh, she's going to kill Luke Skywalker? A lot of, at the time, there were fans that looked at that and they got upset. I wasn't one of them, but it definitely was a thing at the time.
People certainly have protective issues with Luke's character.
Well, yeah, and then to piggyback that on with Nick, it's like when I first read it, we've just gone through the dark times, and for her to come here and do that to Luke, Luke left us at a high point, and she came in, and it's like that's why a lot of people also hated her originally, because it's like you don't do that to Luke, So it was like, but she has developed a lot.
That makes sense, yeah.
And one of the new characters that we see in this book, I'm curious what people's thoughts of, well, I guess not new to this one, but of Phalia.
Anybody want to jump on that?
I'm sorry. Can my internet just fritzed? Can we repeat what just happened here?
What's one of the other new characters in this? I was curious what everybody thoughts were on Senator Phalia. The one who's
yeah, he's
going
from
on a
one too.
campaign
Oh,
against Akbar.
The Bothan? Okay, yeah, he was in the first book too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jesus.
but he's really developed.
Nicole
in
does
this
not
one.
like him.
My thoughts, I
Slimy.
cannot say on record.
Definitely the character that you love to hate.
Yes.
At least that's what I felt like for how we were talking about the character the entire time. Such a not nice words, as we could say to describe the character. Probably best to just leave
A
it
meanie.
there.
Not like we describe it on Sundays, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I found him to be a much more interesting character in the first book, and my problems with him in this book were not from him; it was from the writing, because for our characters, they think he could be in league with Thrawn. They're trying to track down any link to that. Or maybe they don't think he's in league with Thrawn, but they definitely think
Up to something.
he could be an enemy. But I talked about this before, that they set up the potential for this Bothan guy to be in league with Thrawn, and then in the next chapter, Thrawn said, "No, nope, he's not working for me." And so, with that being taken off the table, it just made his character kind of boring to me. Like, I know he's a different kind of threat, but a much less interesting threat once that whole idea was taken away.
Right. I have to agree. I still don't like him.
I'm gonna have to, channel my inner Ubaldo, but
My inner Ubaldo. I love that. Sorry, I love that.
We need that on a shirt.
Without spoiling anything, I think he is there's a reason why he's written for you to not like him in this book. And Han certainly thinks that he's a traitor. Like he's convinced, and in a lot of ways he's playing the role of a politician. But I think some of it is set up and payoff, and that you'll get in the next book. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this trilogy is that he could represent certain politicians. He could but they go about a way of showing those things that politicians do, but at the end of the day, bringing it around that it isn't preachy, and it shows, although he's Bothan, but a human side to him. And so I like just kind of how there's a lot of characters and a lot of things happening in this book that can give you negative feelings towards characters, things, but a lot of it is good setup.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
So I want to talk about this is going to actually come, thank you to Ian. Things that we have talked about in book club is characters that we feel represent us. I know that we've taken a particular, not exactly Dark Force Rising quiz, but it sure had almost all the characters except for Mara Jade in that quiz. And that was the Ahsoka quiz. And we all learned a lot about each other. And a lot about each other. So
I think we learned more, though, about what characters we related to in this book.
Yes, exactly. That is very important. So that is my question. I know that we've talked about it in book club. So let's talk about it here, especially because we now have Nicholas with us and we have Isaac. Characters that you feel like really you connected with or you felt represented you. And it could be Sith or non-Sith, or even if you don't like being Sith, but it happens.
There weren't any Sith in this book.
Well, you know what I mean.
I mean, Mr. Joris, to use.
Oh well,
he's not a Sith. He thinks he's a Jedi. Okay, I'll go first. So, Yeah, I always really like learning more about people. I like looking deeper, and so that's part of why I brought this question to the book club. And for me, I even though I don't think he got enough in this book, I have to say Luke Skywalker, which is really interesting for me because I've never, at least, I mean, a few years, I guess, the majority of my life, I have never related to Luke Skywalker. I've never saw the appeal of Luke Skywalker. And it actually wasn't until The Last Jedi that I really connected with him and looked at his character in the past in a different light and really grew to appreciate that character and appreciate Mark Hamill's performance. But specifically for this book, his character is so empathetic. It's always he's always concerned with helping first. In the first book, I don't remember if he knew it was Mara in the ship that in the skip ray blast boat or whatever it was called that she was chasing him in. But he knew someone was in that ship that crashed, and he had to help. He had to help them, even though they're trying to kill him. He has to help them. And here with Joris, he knows that Joris is kind of insane, but there's moments of lucidity there that he can see the humanity there, and he still wants to help him. And so that's just something I really relate strongly to, is always wanting to help, always wanting to be a positive force in the world in any way possible. So that's the character I really strongly relate to, and also a little bit related to Mara as well, with her with the fears of her dreams. Was something that I really connected with, and that feeling of not worthlessness, but that she's someone that people wouldn't care about, that wouldn't want to come after her, wouldn't want to help her. So yeah, I relate to elements of her character too, but mainly Luke.
Awesome.
And by the way, this is how our book club goes. Ian always goes first, then there's a moment of silence.
I don't know what it means, whether it means that people are like, stop talking, Ian, or if it means
No, Ian. It's one of those like, oh,
Makes us
heavy,
think.
Ian.
You blow our mind. Yeah, you make us go, huh.
Well,
Spencer's the one that blew my mind last week. I don't remember what he said. Oh, right. He said that Joris might have saved Thrawn's life. But that can be talked about later.
Well, I agree with you that, like, as a kid, I was always a Han guy. I never really identified with Luke. I found him too whiny in A New Hope, and I don't do whiny. But I did like him in this book. But I would say, like, I identify a lot with Han. The dad energy, that just worried and stressed about family and trying to do what you can to protect that and make it. But I also, as a business owner, Lando's not always written the best in the EU. He kind of goes back and forth between a good guy and a playboy. But in this, he was really well written. There's a moment where he kind of just surrenders, like, I'm gonna be going with you, aren't I? Like, so much for getting back to my business. Like, I'm here doing this now, huh? And he's like, okay. And I just love, like, He's just like, well, I'm in it now.
I hop on the ship, so might as well.
Yeah.
He didn't hop on. He was dragged.
Dragged
Maybe
by
I can win the
Han.
Falcon back.
And I can always hear like D Baker, like I can hear his voice like when they're talking. I do have to say, but we'll get into that when we get into the writing style. So
And
anyways,
then if I was just going to comment one more thing on, you were talking about Jerry Sabaoth, and Sabaoth is they refer to him as a dark Jedi because Sith is a religion. So he's not a Sith, but he is a Jedi that has fallen to the dark side, to the dark temptation. So
I don't think he knows that, though.
No, he doesn't. He's not. Yeah, I'm going to plead the fifth there.
What do you know?
Well, if you want the spoilers, watch Bad Batch.
I already watched
that's
that
true.
back. We're not. I'm not going to associate it.
I've already,
Ubaldo, how does it go?
I cannot confirm or deny.
I want that shirt, but I also want you doing this. Because it's so funny.
Get that on a mug. So,
yeah, Nick, I'm going to tell you, man, sometimes it's so hard not to say anything.
Yeah.
He's going to be so happy that at the next book review, he's like, oh, thank God.
Yes. Yeah.
we're here.
Ooh, I made it.
I don't know how, but I made it. But
Isaac.
you know what? But you know what? Before I say anything else, I'm enjoying their point of view. The people are reading it first, from when I read it, and I see it completely different now compared to when I read it back then. And I express everybody that I've always liked how Han has developed and has gotten older. You care more of family. And that's why I like Han in this trilogy, because the way he has developed. But he still has that friend. Hey, Lando, come here. Let's go. So.
Yeah, Lando and Han, they're definitely ride or dies together.
Yeah.
They're ride or dies.
And I like how every time he deals with anybody in his old world, it's a rumor is you've gone respectable. Just like it's like it's me, come on.
Isaac or Spencer?
Isaac had a really interesting one that he posted the other day. And as long as he's good with sharing.
Oh yeah, I was going with Garnbell Iblis.
Yeah.
Yes.
He kind of just took off and did his own thing and was like, I don't trust you people. And so I kind of feel that way some days myself. Like enough with people, I'm going to go get some goats and chickens and start a farm.
There you go. Untouchable.
I have a theory that he actually wrote the character direction for Mon Mothma and Andor. Because how he views Mon Mothma in these books is how she's portrayed in Andor.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
I'm not in disagreement on that one.
Yeah, for me, the character has to be Thrawn. I mean, it just... No, I'm just
You
kidding.
relate to Thrawn? Oh, dang it.
No, I mean...
I wanted to hear that.
He's just so misunderstood. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not crazy.
I mean, Spencer will tell you that.
Yeah, I like him as a character, but no. I think, I'm not a dad, but I think it's got to be Han, because just understanding the importance of family, and that having that closeness that I really enjoyed reading. So there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that a lot of people, even original book reviews, a lot of people think that Thrawn has lost, a lot of these battles, but he turned out to be a stronger and smarter person at the end when we finish this book, if you really think about it. Because, okay, I can't say anything.
I almost picked him as my favorite character for this book, but I picked him for Air, so I figured I would do a different one.
Yeah, and me personally, I think he's stronger at the end. People don't see it, but I think he is. And of course, we'll find out a little bit more later.
Well, and this book ends
No
with him on
hints.
a win.
No hints.
Oh yeah, of course. Even though he lost a couple of battles, he's a big winner here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually won. He's not just spinning it,
Yeah, exactly. But when you're reading through the whole book, it's like, oh man, this guy just the smartest man, and he's always a step ahead. And all of a sudden he's losing, and at the end you're like, whoa, wait a minute, he won.
He's playing
and
chess,
it's
and everyone
fantastic.
else is playing checkers.
Yeah, exactly. You're it's like I said in the past, it's a chess game. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm gonna get this queen already, and I'm gonna get the king and everything. And next thing you know, you got sidetracked by the knight. So it's like, it's fantastic.
Well, yeah, and up until about the last 5 chapters of this book, it has seemed like he has all these brilliant plans, and every time he gets defeated, he says, well, no, it's not a real defeat. And I know when you were mentioning that, but chess is a good way to put it. He's like one of those players that lets you just keep taking players off the thing until you checkmate yourself, because he's manipulated. And that moment when they go, hey, look, they're like, we got to come here, we got to defend, we can't let them get this fleet. And it says, look, they're all gone, there's only a couple of them left. We didn't get here first, they already have it.
Yeah.
And that moment when that drops, it's like, yeah, Thrawn won.
You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Spencer, this is a question that you haven't answered. And it's been weeks.
Weeks.
We're shining the light on him. Tell us.
It's difficult for me just because, oh my gosh, just because there's not one character that's really speaks out to me necessarily. But I think when I have to think about it, I'd say maybe closest to Mara, just because of how I can relate to some of her, I guess, like motivations, or also that sort of like her thought process.
You want to kill Luke Skywalker?
So do you have voices?
You heard it here first, folks. Breaking news.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
This just in.
We're gonna clip this.
I mean, to a degree, though, like just something I can relate to, though, as far as that, not killing Luke Skywalker, but she's always told, hey, you need to do this, right? And so I feel like, to a point, through my whole life, you're always told, like, hey, do this, you should do that, and I feel like with me being a college student now, that's something I really relate to now, as I'm sort of like discovering more of myself now, right? And so I could definitely relate to that sentiment of Mara.
All right. So in this book,
no. Nicole, you didn't answer.
Oh, I didn't answer?
No,
Wait,
you didn't.
I thought I mentioned Marge did, but maybe that was with the last question.
Yeah.
See, this
although
is why
I do understand Marge, though, in the sense that I know you've brought it up, Ian, and that was, her feeling like she's not enough. There's, you know what I mean? Like if I'm gone, will they really think of me? Like me, myself, and I have had those thoughts before. I definitely can relate to Leia. I can relate to somebody else, but it happens in book club, stays in book club. So there you
go. I wonder what that is.
I have no idea.
I don't know what she's talking about.
During the book club, and I know this isn't the one you were talking about. You said Lando, and I thought what you said was really interesting. Do you remember what you said?
It's been a few weeks since I said Lando, so I think my answer has changed.
Okay, that's cool.
Then.
I think it's changed. Although, I mean, I know I'd be up for shenanigans like Han and Lando, but I'm sure that wasn't my answer. I'm sure that wasn't my answer at the time.
No.
Nope.
All right, you guys, let's talk about settings. Okay, we didn't get a lot of new settings, but did anything stand out to you guys this time around?
Oh, I really like that. What's the name of the where all those like gray people come from? That planet.
The Nogri?
Nogri. Yeah, that planet where they all came from. I thought that was very fascinating, and plus, I always enjoy the stories whenever Star Wars tells about how a certain planet is affected by the war one way or another, and that whole sort of like plot twist that you kind of like get with it near the end of that storyline. I was just like, that was a huge like highlight to me that I really liked reading about in this book. And so and always as well, I love being immersed in these Star Wars planets where it's just you're really in like this whole alien civilization, you know, making it feel like you're just there with a completely different environment. And so I really enjoyed just everything with that planet. I thought was neat.
Good answer.
I definitely like that planet too. I like mostly just the developing of the Nogri people.
Yeah.
And their culture. While we have had Rook show up in Rebels, that's something we really haven't gotten, is their kind of their people, their culture that we see in here is really on full display. And I really like how much they go into kind of developing them as a species for this book series.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
No, I think Ian and Nick hit it right on the nose. Is like a lot of people don't realize is when have war, look what happens. A lot of people overshadow. It's like you're trying to win the war, and you got all these battles, and you don't realize what the consequences are. So it was really interesting to learn the culture, how the planet, how they survive, and everything. It's fascinating to bring this planet to life. If you know what I mean.
The other thing that I really like with it is that with the plot twist they give there of this not being from the results of the Empire versus the Rebels, it was the Old Republic versus in the Clone Wars. And thinking about at the time, we didn't have the prequels, we didn't have any of the other EU books that went back before the prequels.
Yes.
And yet this fits very well into the timeline that came with those, as far as like, oh yeah, it was a battle between the Separatists and the Empire, that it just works out, and the fact that the Emperor and Vader were working for the Republic before it became the Empire, and just kind of interesting how they're already laying the breadcrumbs of what would come.
That was actually something that I was thinking about today, and I have mixed feelings on about the reveal that it wasn't a battle between the rebellion and the Empire that did this to their planet. It was something that happened during the Clone Wars. And because I felt like that took away from the story a little bit, because I thought that it was really interesting to have Leia be in this position where she, or at least her side, had a hand in this planet's destruction. And just her thought process and the discussions that came from that were really fascinating. And I thought that to have it be revealed that actually they didn't have a stake in this. They had no responsibility for what happened to this planet. I thought that was a little bit of not a cheat, especially because the other side of the coin for me that I really liked, that what this led to is that it led her to realize that this planet has been manipulated and poisoned for a lot longer than she thought, generations. And it's the generations that led her to basically the winning argument to win over these people. It's that it all boiled down to family. That the Nogri people have lost so much family. The one matriarch that she was talking to had lost 3 or 4 sons to this war, and that was their future. That the children were being raised to be agents of the Empire, unwilling agents of the Empire, slaves of the Empire. And so for Leia, in her position of being a new mother soon, and just thinking of the future of her own children and things that will be passed down to them, it allowed her to get through to those people, to not want to sacrifice their future and their children's future any longer.
Oh, well said. This is why we have nothing to say for a hot second afterwards, Ian.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't even remember what was the first question. Oh, right, location.
We're talking about settings. The location.
Location.
Anybody found anything that they really enjoyed in this novel? I mean, in this volume 2.
I know I just said a lot, but even no location other than what people already said about exploring the Nogri culture, which was fascinating, especially how. And I really want a chapter from Chewbacca's perspective because he relates to these people, the honor that these people have, the loyalty that these people have. He relates to that. And even though he still doesn't fully trust them, I want his thought process. I want his thoughts on this. But
I can tell you, there you go.
That's not what he's saying in his head. Well, he is saying that in his head, but it means something else.
Sorry, that was the audio book. That was the audio book. My bad.
Yes. The place that stood out to me was the Star Destroyer. I love just anytime we are in a Star Destroyer or the Death Star or something like that. I just love those settings and exploring every space of it, even just going into the pilot's quarters. We talked about that book about all the different vehicles and spaceships and stuff in Star Wars.
That is on my bucket list. I swear I'm going to be getting it soon because I need it. Now
I just want to know where everything is in a spaceship. Like, that stuff is fascinating to me. So to have such a great amount of time on the Star Destroyer and not just be on the bridge, really going through the bowels was just really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, before we head into talking about cons or anything, anybody else want to add in some of their favorite setting? All right. Well, without further ado, let's get chit-chatting about Timothy Zahn's writing for Volume 2. And then I know that I have an idea. I have a feeling that this is just going to get mixed in. If you also had any cons about Volume 2, because I have a feeling some people might mention it, especially within the writing. What did we think? Volume 2.
I will go first if no one else does.
It's tradition.
It's tradition.
Yeah. That's what we're used to. It's routine. Yeah.
I swear, we're creating t-shirts. It's
well, I have a question for Nicholas. because you seem
Okay.
to know a bit about the history here. You were saying that he wrote this as one novel and then they just split it up wherever it was convenient,
So,
or
well, he was commissioned for all three, but it was basically it was kind of a done deal, and it was released over a pretty short period of time. So like this, but this came out, and I know he wrote the first book, got it approved, and then he wrote the next two together. So,
at the same time.
but they
Okay,
all came,
okay.
yeah. So
that
they
makes a
came
lot
out.
of
So like
sense.
he just split like the other two, like right, the spot where it ends, like it is not a great ending. It is not a great ending.
I mean,
I mean, yes, it is. It is
Wait, what?
a go to commercial break moment, but it is not. When you're
it's a to be
reading
continued
a
ending.
book, yeah, when you
I'm
read the first
well,
book, you could read that first book and feel like you could wait a year for the next book to come out. You get to the ending of this book, and it feels very mid-story, which is the difference of like it's always my thing. Like everybody loves, not everybody, but so many people talk about how Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie, from a filmmaking or whatever. But I've always go, I can never watch just The Empire Strikes Back. If I watch The Empire Strikes Back, I'm watching Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
It's just because it ends on the cliffhanger. But I can watch A New Hope and turn the TV off and like I'm happy because it's a complete story. And I feel like the first one, even though there's mysteries and it kind of has like, we've got past this first thing. It almost feels like episode one. At episode one, like they solved this one thing, but they're like, but there was a threat out there, and where's the master? And so it is like, yes, there's much more to the story, but it does feel kind of like an ending point. Whereas in this book, it very much feels like you're in the middle of the story when it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is that it was more of a, like, the first book was more like written to see more approval. Correct, Nick, if I recall? Yeah. That's why we kudos to him, because he brought a lot of homes to place. Coruscant, for example, it's being used now. Let's see. Sometimes a lot of people don't realize he's the one that created it. So that's why there's like a little bit of more spacing between book 1 and 2. But I do agree with Nick. As soon as we get to the third book, it's like it feels more like 1 instead of 2.
Okay.
First book is just set the bases perfectly, and then it was out there and to see how well they done. But he was signed for 3 books, and he just everybody seemed to wait, like, okay, how did he do? People loved it, and boom. So the next 2, that's why the last 2 books came quickly, faster than the first one did. But yeah, I agree with Nick. It's like the second book just ends, and it's like, wait, what? And then you read the last one, and it's like, oh my God, why did these 2 books didn't come out at the same time?
And it's one of those things where I think when you read the third book, this book becomes better. It's one of those things that there's a lot of things. I hinted a little bit with Failure. There's a lot of things that are like, oh man, why is it going this weird direction? Or why is it? And just like we had a couple of plot twists in this, we had we were just discussing. It wasn't the Empire versus the Rebels that caused this disaster. It was the Old Republic. So there's a lot of twists that happen in the last book. And so there's a lot of details, and you're getting information and building up characters right now that set up those twists and payoffs. Just like you had when you found out that Mara Jade was the Emperor's hand and stuff like that. That was a good twist in this. That the first book, her character really didn't have a lot of explanation as to what her motives were, but we got that in this book. And I think the next book is going to explain a lot of why stuff is happening in this book.
I would hope so.
I
Well, it
cannot confirm or
definitely
deny.
it definitely felt as though he was being reactionary to, like, his writing style seemed to change for this book. So certain characters seem to change. I brought up the fact that I didn't think that Thrawn was as smart in this one.
Yes. He should have been. Like, nice. Yes.
Now, as we know, I'm not a fan of Thrawn in these books, and in general. But so I was kind of cheering anytime he was wrong, but he was wrong in ways that didn't make sense for him to be wrong. Like when they searched the Nogri's ship on their planet and they found a bunch of Wookiee hair, they were just like, oh, well, it was because he was just on the Wookiee planet. They held him hostage for a while. He wouldn't have brought anyone with him, even though he's acting totally suspicious. Stuff like that, you know, he just didn't seem. So I thought that perhaps after the first book, maybe some editor was like, hey, we want Thrawn to be smart, yes, but you're having him know everything. And that was really annoying in the first book for me. Like, I am totally a supporter of someone really smart that has reasons for that, like Sherlock Holmes or something like that, that they're able to I can't say things properly, but it just seems like he knew everything for the sake of knowing everything in the first book. And so that was downplayed a lot in this one, and I think it was a reaction to perhaps that from the first book.
Well, yeah, like that situation there with the Wookiee hairs and stuff. He realizes the character's been compromised, but he actually is thinking the wrong thing. The idea that they would be able to recognize Leia as Vader's daughter, and maybe he doesn't fully understand that situation, because at this point in the EU, the world does not know that she's Vader's daughter. But you know, or that, but Thrawn should, by his later writings that Timothy Zahn did, Thrawn would know by this time. But at this point, Thrawn in the universe, they haven't decided that he actually knows that Vader was Anakin Skywalker. So he's assuming that they broke them, that the Wookiees like tortured and broke him or something and got him to work for them. But you're right, he is wrong, and he doesn't always get it right. And but if you are annoyed by him getting it right, you really won't like the canon Thrawn books.
I know that. Well, I don't. I started reading with it.
Timothy Zahn does those too, but there is a thing where I could say that Timothy Zahn, at a certain point, I think the legend of Thrawn, like, this is what stand out about him, and he wasn't as perfect as he was before. But in like when he came back and did it under Disney, and he did all the prequels for Thrawn, like, he made Thrawn like extremely intelligent. But they do it a lot, like, because in there you're looking at, even though he's working for the Empire, that paints him a lot more as a good guy. And they write it like you would write Sherlock Holmes.
He explains, he does it through the art like he does here, but I will say that as Timothy Zahn's writing, progresses and stuff, he gets in a lot more detail of him kind of doing like a turn to Watson explain step by step, and that starts in this book a little bit. He has his commander that is trying to make sense of things, and he's like, no, let me help you walk through these things.
So I'm just curious, Andrew or Spencer or Isaac, what did you guys think overall of Volume 2? What are your guys' thoughts? Or any cons? Is there anything you didn't like?
No, I mean I liked it overall. I like Zahn's writing style. It seems even when there are parts that are really slow paced, it seems to then pay off at some point usually. And I like to read strategy, when that happens. Kind of like how we mentioned earlier, Thrawn's like he's playing chess. You think it's going one way, and then boom, it goes this way, and you're like, whoa, was not expecting that. So I like reading when there's twists, and sometimes it's hard to guess where it's going. So I still think Air's better, but I did like this, and I think maybe my opinion will change when we read Volume 3. So
true. That's a possibility. Good point.
From what I've heard on people from the panel who has read it, from what I've heard, I might like it more.
Ball's like hands
trying to break the ball there.
There you go.
Trying to see if I could get him to say something.
Yeah.
He's like, nope.
I can't agree. Yeah.
Spencer or Isaac?
Yeah, I definitely carry like a lot of the sentiments that everyone's already expressed. I just know kind of the biggest thing for me when, especially reading the end of it, is like I compared to like what we got in the first book, I was kind of expecting like a little more like Thrawn at one point, and I was just like, really, like that's what that we're kind of getting from him in this book compared to like what you got in the first one, and so like that disappointed me because like last book discussion, I picked Thrawn as my like highlight character, and he's become one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and so kind of just seeing him toned down a little on this, I know like disappointed me like on a personal level. Obviously, there's reasons for it that I understand, but like I don't know, definitely, I definitely think that kind of goes into I guess a little bit of like the whole like pacing that. It seems like we all agree on that, like, it definitely could have been a little better, some characters not getting as much of the spotlight as others. And so I think other than that, though, like, I think while it was the slower middle chapter from what it is still enjoyable. And
Isaac, we cannot forget you. We cannot forget
this
you.
time.
Ian will
it
not
was a fun read.
Forget you.
It was a fun read. Definitely slower than the first book. So I didn't dislike it. Other than the cliffhanger at the end, because it's ramping up, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's the end, and to be continued. But yeah, no, I mean, still a good book, still a good read. Thrawn's writing style did change a little. Not Thrawn, Zahn's writing style did change a little bit in this one. Nothing too drastic, but definitely his characterization of Thrawn did kind of take a step back. So yeah,
all right,
fun read. I'm ready for the next one.
I will say that all the characters were again on point. Like he wrote everyone, he got everyone's voice right. Everyone, when they were featured, they were them. They were good. But yeah, I think I just had a lot more problems with the. I don't know about pacing, but spacing. just he didn't go deep enough with some of the ideas that at least for me personally, I thought were really fascinating ideas. Like the entirety of the first book, I'm like, okay, Luke's gonna get to Joe Mark, and he's going to be wrapped up with Joris and just be manipulated by this guy. And I really wanted more from that in this book. I thought that's what this book was going to be, but Luke spent like 2 chapters with him, maybe even less, and then left again. And overall, my problems with this book were multiple times throughout the book, Timothy Zahn would introduce an idea, like the Bothan perhaps working for Thrawn. Senator Bell Ibis's ideas about Mon Mothma, that she may not be as on the up and up as we thought, and just multiple ideas throughout the book that were quickly taken away. The thing with the Bothan was taken off the table in the next chapter. The thing with Bel Ibis and possibly that Mon Mothma is the problem, that she might be the one that is going after Akbar. Things like that. That was switched in the same chapter. Just so many instances of really fascinating ideas that were taken away right away. And while the things that did happen were good, like in the one instance that I thought it was happening again that I was mad about was that Mara was captured by the Imperials and is going to go undercover for Thrawn. But he just followed her, and I was expecting her to be undercover and like grappling with this idea of working with Thrawn, if she was going to try to find an escape or something, at the same time that she's acting innocent with Talon Card. But that was immediately taken off the table once she got back to their hideout. But I decided that I actually liked the direction that it went better, because instead of getting a chapter or 2 of her doing that with Card, she went after Luke. And that turned out to be a much more interesting avenue of the story. So I was happy about it there, but overall, it just the things that happened were good, but not as interesting as the ideas that Zahn proffered but took away.
Yeah. So, Ian, what would be your overall rating for The Dark Force Rising?
Do I have to give a number? Because I do not like
that. Do a number. Maybe we can go ABC. It's an F. So,
is it easy as 1, 2, 3? I forget about that. Okay, I liked it less than Heirs of the Empire. I'm 70.
You look so
72 out of 100.
What? I think that's a C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Passing grade.
Barely passing.
Let's give it a B minus.
I'm just laughing inside because a lot of you just listed off a bunch of points that I can't wait till we get to the end of the next book and ask you about them.
If I'm wrong, I was like trying to think in my head that perhaps I'm wrong about Bel Ibis, that maybe he isn't as Uh,
Oh, whoop,
Oh.
whoop.
Uh-oh.
what happened?
I don't
Uh-oh.
know. There we go.
Oh.
I was trying to go on to
Okay.
Ubaldo doing this.
I was trying to hope that I was wrong and that some things will change, and perhaps they will. And if you're going to ask for what our hopes are for the next book,
Yes.
all I'm going to say is all that I want is a scene, but Luke going into the hangar that after Mara's fighter has been brought in, her ship that was what do you call it? What's ion cannon? The ship that was taken out by the ion cannons. I just want him to come in, open her ship, have her wake up, lock eyes, and for her to say, "You came back for me," and maybe they'll kiss. I don't know, but that's all I want. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think Ian just said everything for me. So that's my.
I think you're skipping ahead like 20 books.
I know. I know we're not there yet, and if it did actually happen, I'd be all like, "What? No, not yet." But on the inside, those are the emotions that I have.
Yes. Me too. All right. Going around, Nicholas.
Some final thoughts. This book is very much a setup book for the next one. The next one is a lot more action-packed. But I like this book. But it is the weakest of the three. But that is because it's the middle act, So I liked, even though it was a little bit, I like to see what we saw with Sabaoth and Luke trying to he's teaching me this, but Yoda's teaching me this, but I really don't know that many Jedi, so what's the correct thing for me to do? What's the right treatment? This doesn't feel right. This kind of feels dark side. I don't think I should be doing this. I like getting kind of some of that dialogue. And as mentioned, I really like Talon Card. There was one thing we talked about new planets, but we didn't talk about we got a new species in the Wraith. And just kind of that concept of he's so repels sunlight that if he's in the shadows, he's invisible to normal people's eyesight. And just that kind of a cool idea for an alien. So I kind of like that. That is, something unique. But I do feel like, in a lot of ways, Timothy Zahn is following the template set by the original trilogy. Because at this point, it's almost all we have. There were some EU books that happened while the movies happened. But this is like the first thing coming after that big gap of nothing. And so, you have this middle book, you have Sabaoth, and you were talking about, we got so little of them. I thought we were going to get more of them. But think about how much of the Emperor you got in Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we got a lot more of Yoda than we got of the Emperor, and that was the relationship. True. That was the parallel relationship here.
True. Mm-hmm. But and then you have.
Although with a movie, I guess we got the same amount with Yoda in the movie as we did in this book. Of Sabaoth in this book. So if it was put into movie form, what we got in the book would have been in the movie. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, and in this one, you see Leia going off and doing her thing. You kind of see Han and Lando, and they're all kind of being spread out and separated. That was very Empire Strikes Back. It's in a lot of ways it is following that model And so, and some of that, because it has been done so many times at this point, whether it be through books, comics, the TV shows, cartoons, and future movies, now it doesn't seem as that big. But at this point in time, when this came out, this was pretty groundbreaking. And there's a lot of people who didn't read a lot of Star Wars books in the EU, but this trilogy, when it came out, because it was such a big thing of there'd been no Star Wars and suddenly there was Star Wars, there's a lot of people that read this trilogy that then didn't read anything else. But this trilogy, I think, which is why I think it's one of the aspects from this is what's been so plucked by Disney. Well, let's take the character of Thrawn. Let's take characters that are like this, because so many people knew this trilogy, this book.
So, Nicholas, with all your passion, which I absolutely love, I'm just curious though, what would you rate this one then? What would you rate volume 2?
I would say a B. But it is really hard because I rate the trilogy as a whole is an A+ for me, and I know some of that is nostalgia. Like I sat and I read this as a kid, and then I got it on audio cassette tape after that, and sat there with my Teddy Ruxpin. I tell people that gave me as a little kid nightmares when afterwards, because my Teddy Ruxpin was coming out as evil, very snubby off voice. But this is just so I have a lot of nostalgia with this, and I try to be that. But to me, I view the whole thing as a whole. But when I look at just this book by itself, it's a B.
Yeah. Isaac, what
I will give this.
I think
what was that?
What's up?
I think that might have been Uvaldo's mic.
Sorry.
Oh,
It's okay.
yeah.
Say
4 out of
again.
5
Say again.
Dreadnoughts.
You're last.
Isaac, your overall rating?
B.
A B. All right.
Yep, give it a B.
Anything that you're looking forward to in The Last Command?
Well, I already know what happens, so.
Oh, we are an even keel. That's right. Okay.
Yep, yeah. I've read them all. I've listened to the audiobook multiple times.
So that's right. We have 3.
Yes, I am looking forward to the third one. I enjoy all the threads being woven together.
And hearing all of our crazy thoughts and theories and being like, I know the truth.
He hasn't heard all of them. He doesn't know about the nanotechnology hot chocolate.
Oh, right.
With a little bit of mint.
Yes, a little bit of mint. All right, Uvaldo, what would you rate volume 2?
I think I have to say ditto with the next set. A solid B. Because knowing what happens on the third book, I have to give it a good solid B on it, because a lot of things get answered. A lot of reasons things happen in this book. You'll get the answers the next coming book, and then what happens is, and that's what happens.
Wow. Can't wait.
Spencer, what are we rating?
I would give it a B as well. Much of what I guess mainly Ian said, but what everyone said, I carry very much similar sentiments with what everyone said. I definitely think parts of it could have been improved, but I think overall it was still a really solid, like I said, solid B. It's still a solid read. I'd still recommend it. Especially to it's the middle chapter, and so it obviously falls into some of those pitfalls of a middle chapter, but still being entertaining and still a enjoyable read.
All right, and Andrew, rounding us out.
It's tough because I've given it a star rating, and that would put it around a B as well. So, because I
How
gave
many
it 3 out of 5
stars?
stars. 3 out of
Okay.
5. 3 out of 5, yeah. Because it's a good, like what everyone else has said, it's a good, solid read. And it does make me want to read The Last Command as,
Yes.
continue reading since we started. But I want more. I want to, continue reading the story. And so that's really what I'm looking forward to, is just the continuation of the story. And so.
Well, and for those who are listening in or watching this after we end tonight, we are beginning volume 3 of Heir to the Empire, The Last Command. Book clubs, we meet on Sunday nights in our Red 5 Network Discord. And it's really good fun time. So feel free to join us. In the month of April, we're doing a non-Star Wars read. I'm so excited. The first polls have ended. Tonight, the next bracket goes up. It's going to be down to, we're going from 8 to 4, and those will be up after we get done tonight. So I'm so excited. On February 25th, on the 5s, the announcement will be made of which one, of course, we'll be reading in the month of April. And of course, The Living Force comes out in April. And so that is our book read for the month of May. So I'm so excited because I'm just very excited to read that book and see what happens there. So again, go ahead, make sure you follow us on Red 5 Reading on X, Twix, Twitter, because that is where you can vote. You can be polar polls. And if you want part of the book club, just DM me. I'm Nicole of Peace Love Fandoms, again, Red 5 Reading, and I will get you set up so you can hang out with all of us here at the Red 5 Reading. I want to go around because thank you to everybody who has come into our chat, who has dropped in, left us a like and comment. But I want to reintroduce you to each of our guests that are part of the Red 5 Reading, beginning with Ian right here, who, as we call it traditionally, he's the first one to speak after me. So, where can everybody find you on media? If you want to.
Before I speak, Miss Nicole, you always take yourself out of giving your own answers.
I said
what was your rating?
It's a solid B. It's also in the
okay. Okay. Oh, it is? All right.
It actually seems like it was a solid B all around. So
Nicole gives her answers in the Discord, so
I do too. I do try that. Yes.
Yeah, when she remembers.
Hey. All right, Ian, if you want to be found, where can you be found?
If I want to be found, well, if the government is looking, I do not want to be found. Although they can probably find me because I have a phone. So, but on find me on the Red 5 Discord. I talk there. Otherwise, on Twitter at nerf22. Otherwise, don't talk to me.
You get to know me. So there.
Yes, you'll get to, if you join the book club, you'll get to know me there and hear me talk and talk and talk and talk.
And it all makes sense.
Does it all make sense? I think I contradict myself sometimes.
All right, Nicholas, Backyard TARDIS.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's Back TARDIS because they wouldn't let me put yard in there. And then Backyard TARDIS on YouTube. I talk sci-fi and video games kind of there and stuff. But Adventures in Locksmithing is my other channel. I'm a locksmith. I do the stories there. And I've been doing a new story where I'm kind of locksmith reacts to Hollywood. I've done 2 Star Wars ones. I got another one dropping tomorrow morning. I'll be looking at the TARDIS on Doctor Who getting picked open. And then tonight I will be on Price of Reason Live, and we'll be talking some classic Quantum Leap.
Nice.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right, Isaac.
You can find me on Discord. I'm usually in the Red 5 Network or the Certain Point of View. Otherwise, I'm just typically lurking in the YouTube comment section.
There you go. Ubaldo?
You can find me on Twitter, TGR Baldo. I'm mostly active on that one. I'm getting to know how to use Discord more often now that I got involved with this book club. And, when I could figure it out, I'll be in the chat. But I'm more active on my Twitter account. That's where I mostly met everybody here and beyond.
Awesome. Spencer?
You can go find me at Dingaston, as shown right down there, where I talk a lot about different comics on there. Lots of fun stuff over there. Yeah, I'm also in the Discords as well, and a lot of them. So, I mean, join the Red 5 network there, and I know, right? But yes, that's also one too.
We gotta make sure to bring it up. Red 5 Tavern.
Someone has to.
Dragons.
Also, Red 5 Tavern, usually every Friday, but we're skipping this Friday because stuff. And so
life.
Exactly, life, right? It happens. And so yeah, Red 5 Tavern, where we play D&D. I play as Gibble the Goblin that speaks like this. And so anyway.
I think Gibble the Goblin needs to come to our book club sometime.
It's funny.
All right. And Andrew, because I know you got stuff going on too tonight. So
yes. So you can find me on pretty much any social media platform at that handle right there at Andrew Haley 05. I'm also active in the Red 5 Discord, a lot of them actually. And tonight in about 50 minutes, I will be on the Geek News Now official YouTube channel for Cantina Happy Hour, where we will be talking season 1 of Rebels, episodes 5 and 6.
Awesome.
Ooh, good ones.
Yeah, we were working this gap until Bad Batch, so we'll be covering that next week. And so tonight we were supposed to do these 2 episodes last week, and we got off topic and didn't end up talking about them at all. This week happens. This week is take 2. Yeah. So that's where you can.
Don't worry. I'll join in and make sure you all don't talk about it again.
Yeah, we went down a rabbit hole of the prequels and sequels, and we were like, oops, we're an hour into this. So
well, thank you again, each of you, for joining up tonight. This has been so much fun. I appreciate you guys. Make sure, if you are watching this again, please follow my friends, check them out, check out their shows. Again, Nicholas Backyard Tardis, Spencer Dingaston, Andrew's Geek News, and then we have our other friends who just love to hang out with us and be in book club with us. And you have to join, and then you can hang out with them too, because trust me, you're going to want them. Anyways, again thank you so very much. Be looking for the polls that are dropping tonight. Again, we will know on February 25th, which is the next on the 5s, that we will be announcing the book we'll be reading in April. And
vote Jurassic Park.
And
that's what I'm gonna say.
And until next time, thank you for joining on the 5s, and I'll see you then. Bye.